On today's episode of Watch JR Go, we are back at Sullivan Auto House here in Wichita, Kansas. You can see their sign on the wall behind me to talk about what I just bought. I know, I said I was gonna put this whole year into investing, but instead we are buying something cool. What is going on, guys? I am Watch JR Go, and today, like I said, we are here at Sullivan Auto House in downtown Wichita to take a look at my newest purchase. Well, it's actually been paid for quite a while, but it's sitting here and you guys can come up here and check it out if you want to come buy a car from these guys. So I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. You guys have seen Brandon on the channel many times before, and today I'm here to show you something that he bought as a decoration for the dealership, and I was like, it's mine, no question. So I paid him for this a while ago, and here it is. My 1971 Triumph Bonneville 650 Twin. Now, this bike was just fully restored, except for the paint, right? It's been gone through, but it still has its patina there. And everything should work. I've ridden it. It's pretty fun. Today, we're gonna talk about this bike and then get it out on the road and see what it's like to ride a bike that is 50 years old plus at this point. So before we talk about my new to me 650 Bonneville, let's talk about Triumph Motorcycles, the company. Now, Triumph is a UK company that's been around for so long. They are one of the earliest motorcycle manufacturers to ever exist. They started out, like all motorcycle companies seem to, by building bicycles and then putting motors on bicycles and then suddenly building production motorcycles. Except for Ducati, they started with radios and somehow then turned into motorized bicycles. But they started building motorcycles in 1902 for production, 1 year behind Indian, which was the first motorcycle manufacturer in the US. It's not the first really, because people started building them in like the 1890s. There were a couple companies that preceded them, but for the most part, Triumph is one of the earliest motorcycle manufacturers in the world. And they built tons and tons of bikes over the year, millions of them. And this is right before they went bankrupt for maybe the third, fourth, fifth time. I'm exaggerating, but it's a company with a storied history that just keeps producing motorcycles, and then at some point they go bankrupt, somebody buys all the IP, and then they start building them again, and we're brought back to a new reality with fresh Triumphs that just seem to get better and better and better. It's pretty crazy. Every time they come back, they have a better product. This being in 1971 is right before they went bankrupt and sold out to Norton, but it's also one of the best generations of the Bonneville to ever exist. The Bonneville people think of and the Bonneville people love is this one from the late 90s to the early 70s. They tried to redesign these, and right then is when they went bankrupt because it wasn't much of a bike anymore when you compared it to its rivals like Honda. Honda was crushing them with technology, lower prices, and bikes that you really wanted to ride as you came in to the mid 70s, early 80s. Even though this is one of Triumph's best designs, it's really tough for it to compete in a market where Honda's out there producing lower cost bikes and then better bikes like the CB750. That's really what put the nail in the coffin for this thing, the 4-cylinder 750, because anyone who's ridden a Honda motorcycle knows just how smooth those 4 cylinders are. So you go from, the vibration you get with a twin to that perfectly smooth ride down the road and electric start. And for me, and for probably anybody in that era buying motorcycles, electric start was the key to it all. But the Bonneville isn't that far behind, other than the fact that it didn't have disc brakes or electric start. Triumph was killing Honda in the big engine market until the CB750. The 650 is actually a ripper. This thing will do well over 100 miles an hour, so it moves. It has the vented disc brakes here in the front. It has a swing arm, which was still, it's not new technology, but it was still a big change for motorcycles back in the day. Full suspension, oil filled, but even the rear is a drum brake, and it's actually a relatively hard drum brake to service here. Honda gave everybody all the new technology, and they did it at a cheaper price, and what are you supposed to do about that? Even though this bike probably looks way cooler, and I think it stood the test of time way better than the CB750, most of those are just turning into rat rods at this point, and these like to sit in people's garages as collector's items. the CB750 might have been the better bike, which was really hard to compete against. The other thing about these old Triumphs, and anybody who has ridden one can tell you, is they are right-hand shift. That's right, the shifter is on the wrong side of the bike there, and the clutches are not easy to use either. So you've got your brake over here, which is reverse as well, and your shifter on the other side. So when you're riding these old bikes, you have to really rethink everything. And Honda, of course, delivered a more modern drive style with the shifter on the correct side of the bike, which is the left side. But let's talk about this thing. So we've got the 650 Twin right here. You can see it's been all apart. The top end's been rebuilt. The carbs have just been rebuilt. Speaking of, it has twin Amal carbs on it. This one, I think it's a really, really clean bike. Everything's been resealed. It doesn't leak too much. So I'm excited about that. You've got your dual exhaust with a crossover pipe right here. It sounds great with this setup. This one's sitting on brand new Dunlop 19-inch tires. You can see that both of them are fresh. They still have the nubs on it, so it's barely been ridden since the restoration. Nice and clean, ready to actually hit the road because fresh tires are the main thing. This bike does have a full electrical system, but like I said, no electric start. If we flip the seat up, you can see the ignition coils, the battery, everything's kind of hiding under here. The air filters are right here under these covers, and of course your oil is right inside the frame, and I'm gonna need a big screwdriver to open the oil up. It does not want to open up today. Gas tank exactly where you would expect, nothing crazy about that. And this gas tank is clean inside, rust free, which is a huge bonus and honestly one of the harder things to find. So we'll go ahead and lock our seat down here. And we have a full lighting package as well with a tail light, tag lights, turn signals, everything you would expect on a pretty modern motorcycle, even a headlight. And this is the switch that turns the headlight on and off. And all the indicator lights that tell you if you're in neutral, turn signals are on, they're all hiding right there inside the headlight as well. Smith's gauges with a cable-driven tach and a cable-driven speedo. It looks like we've got 4,200 miles on this one, if it's original. I just kind of assume these things are true mileage unknown, but you really never know. It could be actual mileage. And this one looks, as far as I know, like an original specimen. It might have been cleaned up, but pretty original with the Triumph grips here that are on all of my dad's because he collects them as well, and all of the Lucas ignition right here. It looks like it just came out of the box. So with that said, let's get this thing down off the center stand and we're gonna get it outside, and I'm gonna show you how you start an old Triumph because it's a process. It's nothing like you're used to on modern bikes. You have to actually do some work before you get out on the road. Kind of like a Model A or a Model T. So starting up your old school Triumph is a process, like I said. First of all, you gotta turn the fuel on, and not just on one side here, you gotta turn the fuel on both sides, so you can just lean over, hit that guy right there. You might wait a second for gravity to do its thing here, but before you jump on, you need to tickle it, right? So you got your ticklers right here, and you just kind of push down on them until fuel starts pouring out. So we need to wait a little bit here. We should have fuel any second now. So it turns out we were actually out of gas when I was hitting the ticklers there and nothing was happening, but now you can see when you touch it, fuel sprays out. So the prerequisite of riding your Triumph is getting gas all over you. So you hit that tickler, hit this tickler, you can see a little fuel comes out, and when it does that, it squirts fuel into the main as well. So we've got a little bit of priming fuel in the engine. Now, you have to make sure it's in neutral. The clutch cannot be pulled in like you'd want to be on a normal bike. You just leave it alone. Make sure it's in neutral. Turn the key on. The key's over here. And I think we're in neutral because I just rolled it out here. But now we're going to jump on here and try to start it. And that's it, your Triumph is running. Let's get to Quick Trip right now. I gotta fill this up with gas before we run out. I think I only have about a minute before I use up the little bit of gas that they had. That's probably it, I'm probably out of gas. Hopefully not. Let's get over to Quick Trip, fill this up, and then we'll take it out for a ride. And here we are, going down the road. Oh, a new Triumph.
A few minutes later.
Well guys, not good. I'm only running on one cylinder. Well, if this isn't the traditional British bike experience, I don't know what is. At least I found neutral. Accidentally, I'd say. We'll give it a couple squirts here. See if we can make it go again. Chopper, come give me a lift. I need it. Here we go. Well guys, Dad wanted me to ride this thing over to him, and that's not gonna happen because it's only running on one cylinder, and I don't want to fight that battle right now. Pretty much how it happens every single time. So let's put it back inside and it can go on display until I guess we clean the carbs again. Even though it runs great, I think the choke's stuck on. It runs great until it gets warm. And I ran the choke back and forth, and we're definitely not winning. Choke's off, it's warm, and it won't stay running. Well guys, there you go. Like I said, oh, we got headlight on now. Let's figure that out. There we go. All right. The typical vintage British bike ride goes something like that. So we'll get this thing over to my dad's with a trailer another day, and we'll let him play with these carburetors a little bit. You can see that when I try to release it, instead of releasing, it's out of its ferrules, right? So maybe the cable's just not pushing back. Maybe that's holding it up. You really don't know what the actual issue is, but I think the choke is stuck on, and for some reason, it's only firing on one cylinder. I don't think it's the spark plug, but we actually need to check the ignition, we need to check the fuel, and we need to check the choke. So there you go, a very eventful fail of a first ride on my 1970. It's actually a 72. My dad did say this is a 72, that they changed the VINs. Like the factory only released these as 71s because 72 was when they went bankrupt and changed owners. So every 72 is actually a 71, something like that. Anyway, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. And hey, it's got a full tank of gas now, so as long as I get to it soon, we won't have any ethanol problems. But you know, the whole problem could be ethanol problems. I got the fuel valves closed again, and Dad also said one of these petcocks is wrong. You know, he is the Triumph man. But he said that if both of these are standard petcocks, it won't work correctly because one of these should be stamped with an R for reserve, and it has a lower pickup. So if you have standards, and it looks like both of these are standards, you have to have 1.5 inches of fuel in the tank before it'll even work. So that's why I had to get gas in it, even though it had gas in it, before we could even move the thing. And believe me, you don't get a gas gauge on these things. You hope and pray.